Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. This is the Father Show, and I'm your host, Mike Thompson. Today, we have another great guest, and I can't wait to get started. But before we get to that point, if you have not subscribed to our show, please click on go to our YouTube channel, and which is the Father Show with Mike Thompson. Click on the subscription button, and while you're there, hit that notification bell so that way every week when we have a show, you can be notified. And also, for those men that are looking for resources and maybe even looking for our guest today, you can go to thefathershowwithmikethompson.com, click on resources, and there you will find resources there that can help you with whatever you need, and you can call the person. We don't know you were there. You just go there, get the information, make the phone call, and talk to the person that you need to talk to. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I want to introduce our guest. And our guest is a master scientific hand analysis and transformational coach with a corporate background and 3 coaching certifications, which are purpose, law of attraction, and spiritual life coach. Now, she also has been featured in a Forbes article about her work. So Jayne Sanders helps leaders, business owners, and teams love their lives and live their work. Love their lives and love their work as well. Now, she uses her extensive past corporate experience along with scientific hand analysis and her proprietary coaching process. She reveals your purpose, your special gifts, and your blind spots. Then she guides you into the inspiring meaning, passion, and fulfillment you crave in your life and work. When not doing her purpose work, Jayne can be found out on the trail riding her beautiful chestnut quarter horse, Scarlet. Or she may be eating dark chocolate, and sometimes both at the same time. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I ask that you just give a warm welcome to Jayne Sanders, and we can cut this thing and get it off. So, everybody, Jayne, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mike. Good to see you again.
Yes, you too. Good to talk with you and see you. So, how was your day today, and how you been?
Oh, I've already gone to see my horse. I had a luncheon meeting downtown. Never fun to go downtown, I will tell you that. You probably
Yeah,
remember that from your Denver days.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I,
So,
I
and
got.
I did get a new computer, and I'm struggling with getting it all correctly. Tech is not my forte.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I know the feeling. It's something we have to have, but it's a pain to
Yep.
learn to live with. So I want to dive into this. I know because we've got a short time, and it's a lot of information because not too many people know neuroscience in doing your hand reading and learning your life purpose. But why should anybody care about their learning what their purpose is?
Oh, good question. Well, after my years in this, um, working in this context, I firmly believe that without living in alignment with your innate purpose, it's very difficult to achieve the deeper and more consistent joy and fulfillment and success on your terms that everybody craves and deserves, I believe. And sadly, and I think we talked about this, more than half the world is not in alignment with purpose. And that's why there's a lot of unfulfilled, bored, sad, off track, lost people.
Yeah, and I must agree, it is a lot of people out there, and I think a lot of people are really struggling trying to figure out what they want to do. And like we talked about in our phone conversation, well, when we first met, so many you hear about the people that are quitting their jobs and the mass resignation, And I think a lot of that is because people realize that I don't like what I'm doing and life is too
Hmm.
short. So I want to figure out what it is that I should be doing. But let me ask you, is it hard to find your life purpose?
Uh, Short of the scientific, the neuroscientific work that I do, I think so because I tried for decades
Mm-hmm.
and did all kinds of things and took all kinds of assessments and read books and even worked with a career coach. Um, Went to a weekend workshop where the end of it, you can spit out your purpose. And what I learned, myself and many others in the class, you don't really trust it because it came from yourself and it doesn't feel like you don't, you're not sure it's right, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not very deep or detailed. So after decades of trying to find what I wanted to do that would feel better and be more fulfilling, I did a Google search. How do I find my life purpose? And
Mm-hmm.
went down a few wrong paths and eventually found scientific hand analysis. And like everybody else, thought, oh, brother, it's palm reading. But I listened to this teleseminar anyway and was very quickly turned around and learned that it is not palm reading by any means. It's neuroscience. The lines in your hands actually mimic the neural pathways in your brain.
Hmm.
So it is hard to find your purpose that you really trust and believe in and is specific enough, but yet comprehensive enough that you've got options on how to fulfill it. And by the way, you don't have to fulfill it through work. You can do it through volunteerism or through other things. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that work is such a big part of our lives. We'll be much more fulfilled and joyful and have an overall happier life if our work is in alignment with our purpose. But you're right. You know, what we're calling the great resignation is also the great introspection.
Mm-hmm.
People have really been questioning and really seeing, man, this just ain't working for me and life's too short and I'm done.
Now, could a person have more than one life purpose?
Not in my opinion.
Okay.
No, as a purpose expert and coach. It can look different, the same purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is put in a box where you've only got one job or one way of expressing your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's a double edged sword because it's harder to identify what you really want to do because you do have options. But the innate purpose, in my opinion, you're born with, and pieces of it can change, but not the core of it. It will stay the same your entire life.
And that was one of the other question I had. Is it something that you can say at at the young part of your life, say in your 20s and the 30s, you have this purpose, but in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, you have another purpose. Is that possible?
Well, I think we're just in semantics here. So if I get real literal, no, the purpose will be the same.
Okay.
How you express it, in other words, what it looks like in terms of work,
Mm-hmm.
can be different, but it will have the same concept, right? Because through scientific hand analysis, the purpose that's identified is very comprehensive, but it's a description of the concept behind your ideal work. It's not a job description. So to put in
Okay.
a box, we're only figuring a job that's in a line purpose.
And you say that it is by the neuroscience, you can read your hand and it tells you what that should be, correct?
Yep, yep.
Okay. Now,
That the purpose itself comes from the fingerprints,
mm-hmm.
and that's why it won't change because your fingerprints will never change. Or the FBI being deep duty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So any information that I get about someone from their fingerprints will not change.
Okay. So it's going to stay the same. So you
It
might
is the
have to,
purpose is going to stay the same.
yeah, you might have to grow into it or slide into it, but, and most importantly, discover what that is.
Yes, and in this context, purpose work, I've learned, always evolves. So, I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years. Yeah. And even within my world of hand analysis, which I've been involved in since 2011,
Mm-hmm.
um, so what's that, 12 years? Um, I've gotten 3 different coaching certifications, so it keeps evolving. I keep adding to it. Um, but the purpose itself won't change. It's
Now,
what it
how
looks
can
like.
okay? Well, how can a man tell if he is already doing his life purpose?
He will tell by how he feels. He'll feel fulfilled, like he's contributing, making a meaningful difference. He'll feel good about himself. Um, yeah, when people aren't in alignment with purpose, it feels like being bored, stuck, overwhelmed, confused, off track, lost, just yucky.
Hmm.
It just doesn't, you just don't look forward to going to work. I mean, I can still get confused and overwhelmed sometimes, even though I'm on purpose, but
Mm-hmm.
it's temporary. It's temporary. And I know I'm in alignment with my purpose. If you are, you usually know it. I mean, some people have come to me to get an analysis to confirm
Mm-hmm.
that they're in
Mm-hmm.
alignment with their purpose.
Yeah, I can
Um,
believe that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and it
does
wouldn't
that
be
answer your
anything wrong.
question?
Yeah, I
No,
mean,
there
it's
wouldn't.
yeah, it's just
No.
that you know a person may think that they're doing their life purpose already and
Yeah.
realize when they sit down one day or I talk about the men in their 50s and their 60s and you look up and say, well, wait a minute, that was great and I really enjoyed it, but I don't really think I was doing my what I was put on this earth to do, my life purpose. So they get a little confusing. Some people, as you mentioned, can never figure out what their life purpose really is.
Well, many people aren't even trying. They don't even think in those terms.
Mm-hmm.
They're of the mindset you go in, you punch the clock, you work, you leave, you pay the bills, you go to sleep, you go back, do the same thing and over again.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of points that came to mind when you were talking, and now, of course, they flew out of my head. Um, One was about knowing whether or not you're on purpose. Oh, yes. So those people that have come to me and I have confirmed that what they're doing is on purpose, and that's not to say there's something else that wouldn't also be on purpose,
Okay.
as I've mentioned. But when they get that confirmation, it just really increases their confidence and gives them permission to really step into who they are and what their purpose is, and that can change lives.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah.
Because if you are not sure, and then you get somebody that confirms that you are doing
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing, you will just, you might have had your toe in the water, but now you're ready to dive
Yep.
in
Yeah.
and give it your all once you know that you are on the right path.
Exactly. And an example, and this is an extreme, but it's true. One client, she was on purpose. She wanted to confirm that she was, and that she was using, because this also identifies special talents you have to help you fulfill your purpose. And when I confirmed those for her, I mean, she just told me 6 months later that she really stepped into it and gave her permission to go for it. And she went from being broke to 6 figures in 6 months. Now,
Wow.
like I said, that's extreme, but it did happen.
And it could. I mean, if you're working at a job and you're like, I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not quite sure. And even if I want to grow, because I don't know if I want to give it my all, and you figure out, yeah, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. and you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, I think that brings more clarity in your life, and you will, just start diving in and working your hardest and doing your best and see where it takes you.
Yeah, and you mentioned somebody in their 50s and 60s. It's late, as long as you're still on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
to change what you're doing, or to even learn what your purpose is after you've retired. You still have time to leave a legacy
Mm-hmm.
after you've retired. A legacy doesn't have to be some great big hairy thing,
Right.
right? It just needs to feel good, feel meaningful.
Yeah. Because, you could look at it as, for men, we get into, say, coaching. And, you can, once you retire, you can say, I want to coach. And because that will bring meaning to me. And you probably just finally fell into your life purpose. And that's going to be your legacy, because the young men that you touch along the way are going to be huge.
That's right. We underestimate what one affecting one person can do because of the ripple effect. And I mean, you never know how many people are going to have their lives changed because of one person that you touched.
Mm-hmm.
You just never know.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why it's important, even for mentors, to be a mentor, because you have really no idea who the person you may touch, and a young man or a young lady that's out there needing somebody, and you could say something that can really turn their life around and really be meaningful for them.
Right. You're right. Yeah.
Now, can you explain a little bit more about the neuroscience in what you do?
Well, the simple statement is that the lines in your hands mimic the neural pathways in your brain. The gentleman that developed this database, and it's huge, you can imagine, because saying every marking, everything meaning, he spent 40 years putting this database together, analyzed over 30,000 hands. So it's very robust and very reliable. And he wrote a book about it that's only about the fingerprints, doesn't even cover all the other markings in the hands. But the foreword to his book was written by a neurosurgeon from Stanford who was using scientific hand analysis with his patients. So, it's very, yeah, very well thought of, those who are familiar with it.
Hmm.
And in clients' words, freaky accurate.
Hmm. And I know when we talk, I didn't say this, but it got me to thinking one day that I was at work, and this lady came through, and she read my palm. And I know this is not what you do, but she read my palm, and it was freaky how accurate she was.
Yes, palm reading can be very accurate. The biggest difference is that most palm readers involve predictions.
Mm-hmm.
How many kids, when are you going to meet the lover of your life, how long are you going to live? And there are no predictions with scientific hand analysis. Whatever is in your hands is from your past or your present. I mean, the one prediction I will make is, I don't care how good your life is now. If you take action on the information in your hands, it will only get better.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only prediction that I would make.
Yeah, and really, what she said, she didn't tell me anything about how many kids I'm gonna have or anything like that. She just told a lot about the type of person that I am,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it was, like I said, it was very freaky accurate, and
Yep.
I was like, okay, I couldn't argue with that because she's telling me, yeah, you're this, yeah, you're that, and I'm like, yeah, I am, and I know she's never met me before. We had never talked before, or any of that. So I'm not, and I say that in a sense because I'm not really totally against. I guess I'm more open minded in what you do and how you come about it, because
Yeah.
I know, I've seen it, but I just think it's kind of strange, and I don't quite get it. I don't quite understand it, but that's okay.
Well,
But
here's one way to look at it. Um, well, and number one, I bet she didn't tell you your purpose. And
no,
number
she
two,
didn't. She didn't. Mm-mm.
right. And number two, what I believe is, so God created us and He tries to help us and puts all these maps and clues in our bodies. People read faces, they read eyes and irises and ears, and the bottom of the feet are a map of the entire organ system in the body that you can work with through the feet. And He also put a blueprint in our hands to help us make the difference we're meant to make and live our best lives.
Hmm.
We just got to get it done.
Now let me ask you a question then. If you discover what your life purpose is, and even at a young age, and you try to pursue what your life purpose is, but your family or friends don't agree with it, is that what do you do?
Well, I would coach somebody to do it anyway.
Hmm.
I mean, I have 6 siblings. More than half have no belief in what I do.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, my parents had already passed when I got into it. Um, my mom would have been tolerant. My dad, not so much.
Hmm.
Um, so, you know, you've got to follow what's best for you and don't miss out on making the difference that you're meant to make and living your best life because somebody else doesn't think it's right.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. I've actually told people that talk to me and said it's not about what somebody else agrees with or disagrees with. If it makes you happy, if it fulfills you, and you're not hurting anybody else, you need to go for it. Just
Yep.
do what makes you happy. I mean, you got to live off of your own actions, and you got consequences to your actions. So if you're willing to take the action and live with any consequences that comes with it, go for it.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. And you may need to make some adjustments. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I've adjusted several times and it just keeps me, I get happier and happier, because because of that evolving that
Hmm.
goes on with your purpose work. Yeah, it's really important to live in alignment with your purpose. And I will tell you, if you don't feel fulfilled or you just feel off, you're not on purpose.
Hmm. What if that's just a feeling because you were just unsure, and that's why you feel that way?
I don't know if being unsure would make you feel so off track.
Okay.
Uh, it may make you tentative about what you're doing and not, as we've discussed, jumping in with
Hmm.
both feet and not going for it. When somebody's tentative, then those are the results you're going to get too.
Hmm.
I'm a law of attraction coach, so we get what we're putting out,
Yeah.
right? Thoughts and feelings, especially feelings. Um, so being tentative can cause challenges, but not as, I don't believe, as much as being fully off purpose.
Okay. And you have a book out called Twists, Turns, and Truths: The Life and the Lines of a Master Scientific Hand Analysis. Can you tell the audience more about that and how they can find that book?
Sure, it's a memoir, really. It's stories of my life, Some of them pretty challenging, so it's very vulnerable. And the characteristics of me involved in those stories, good and bad, and how many of them show up in my hands. So it's not to teach people hand analysis, but they can learn a lot about themselves because they will have some similar markings and they can look at the pictures and look and see if they've got that marking. So it's just stories of my life and pretty pretty revealing in some situations.
So it's okay
Oh,
to. Oh, go ahead.
sorry, you said where? So it's on Amazon
Okay.
on Twists, Turns, and the Life and Lines of a Master Scientific Hand Analyst.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if somebody really wants to learn and find out what their real purpose is and contact you, can you tell the audience how they can get in touch with you and make that contact and what you do to help them find their purpose?
Sure. Um, First of all, before I forget, I do want to offer your viewers a special price because this is a lot of work. It's very deep. I'm as highly certified as possible. So I want to offer $100 off a regular price. So that would be $397. Um, and that link will be in the show notes later. So I work remotely by using hand prints. So, like, here's an example. I'm going to show this really close so you can see. Wait a minute, which way am I going here?
Right there.
Okay, see all the little tiny markings, and all those mean something. Um, anyway, and I have clients in 12 countries because I do everything by Zoom. Um, if somebody would reach out through my website, purposewhisperer.com, and contact me through there, there's a couple places that says call Jayne or write Jayne, um, then I can send them that link. And once it's paid and I get your mailing address, I would mail an envelope with the hand printing instructions so you can make prints like this. And then I let you know when I get them, and we make a couple of 1 hour phone calls. So two 1 hour phone calls, well, Zoom calls. The first one to go through the analysis, and I'm showing you the markings as I'm explaining what your purpose is and what your biggest challenge is and what a lot of your talents are and what other tripping points are. And again, pretty much everything about who you are and why you're here. And you get that recording and a summary report. And then the second call is for after you've watched that recording because it's so much information, you can't take it all in on that first call. And the second call is to watch the recording before that and then make note of any questions that you'd like more, that you'd like help with. And that's what that second call is for. So, it's about 3 hours of my time for one hand analysis.
Wow. Yeah, it is a lot of work, but it's very interesting, and I think a lot of us would love to really find out what is our life purpose. Why are we here? And like I told you, I have 6 kids, and I know a few of them could definitely have used your service because they have struggled to figure out what is it that they should
Yeah.
be doing, what is it that they could be doing. So I think it's really worthwhile for anybody that is trying to figure out what is it I should be doing and why am I here on this earth. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so I'd like to see a lot of people get this done.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. I love this work. It's so fulfilling for me because I know how it can change their lives if they take action on the information.
All
They poke it
right.
in a drawer. I can't say that. Although,
Yeah.
even just getting that information sometimes changes lives, but
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
would always recommend taking action.
Well, I hope a lot of men that are listening, to this have an open mind. And if you are struggling, they would give you a call.
Well, I would be honored to help them. That's what
Okay.
I'm here to do.
Yeah. And you've already told them how they can get in touch with you, correct? On your
I did
website.
through my
Okay.
website, purposewhisperer.com. It's got
Okay.
two ERs at the end.
And we'll have all that information in the description below so you can find it as well. But Jayne, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show today and talking about the scientific analysis of your hand and how you can figure out your life purpose. So I really hope that the men out there that are listening to the show that are really wondering what is their purpose in life contacts you and get it done. You know, stop, cut
I
out the
would love that,
guesswork.
obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, and thank you for having me, Mike. Yeah, because it's
yeah,
what guess.
get
And
away
some
from the
people say,
guesswork.
"Well, I'm here to help people. My
Yeah,
purpose is to help people." And I'm like, everybody's purpose is to help people.
right.
It's the how
Yeah,
that makes the
you
difference.
got to narrow that down a little bit. You
Yeah,
see, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, Jayne, thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to having you back on again because we can talk some more.
This is a lot of deep stuff, and I
Yeah,
appreciate you inviting me, Mike. It's been a lot of fun, and thank you for having me as a guest.
you're more than welcome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. And I really want to thank Jayne Sanders for being on the show because we like to find out what in the heck it is that we're supposed to be doing and what of our life purpose in life. And that is something that's important. It should be important. Now, if it isn't, okay, go ahead, keep doing what you're doing. But if you really would like to figure out what it is that you should be doing in your life, give Jayne Sanders a call over at purposewhisperers.com and take the test. Find out and make your life a whole lot better. So before you go, if you had not subscribed to the show, please go to our YouTube channel and hit that subscription button. And while you're there, hit that notification bell so that way every week when we have a show, you'll be notified. And also, those men that you're out there and you're looking for resources and would like to find Jayne, please go to our website and go to the Father Show with Mike Thompson.com. Click on resources, and there you will find resources that can benefit you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for joining us this week. I look forward to seeing you again next week. God bless you all.